Hello, welcome to Vet Med Corner. I'm Dr. M. Today we are going to cover the common mistakes that people make when they are storing their pet food. So join me, you'll learn something today. Let's cover canned food first. So when it's unopened, canned food generally has a shelf life around a couple of years. That said, you should always check the expiry dates on your flats of canned food to make sure that they are within date, as some stores might have poor rotation or storing systems in place. It's generally best to store canned foods between 10 degrees Celsius and about 35 degrees Celsius. If you get much colder than this range and they freeze, that can change the texture of the canned food. If it gets too hot, that can also cause issues with the canning. If the can is dented near a seam or near a seal, you should discard that can. Or if it has a deep dent, with sharp edges, that's anywhere in the can, you should also discard that can. This is because issues like Clostridium can start to cause problems in damaged cans. And for sure, if you notice that the can is swollen in appearance or the inner contents look different than the other cans, those would be reasons to contact the manufacturer and let them know what you found, and they can give you guidance from there. Once a can has been opened, it should be discarded after 4 hours at room temperature. So if you are putting, say, some canned food into a food puzzle or a dish and it hasn't been eaten by the 4-hour mark, you should be discarding it and putting in a new portion. If you do not empty the entire can, then your best bet is to get one of those reusable lids that seal onto the can so that you can put it into the fridge. Once in the fridge and sealed, most canned foods are okay for 3 to 5 days. Sealing them with that lid helps to maintain moisture in the canned food. It also prevents odor from transferring from other items in your fridge into the canned food and having the canned food odor seep into other foods that are in your fridge. The lid also minimizes air exposure, which slows down the breakdown of the nutrients in the food. Now, many people do get canned food storage pretty correctly. The problem that I see most common is that people don't know how to properly store kibble. If the kibble is unopened and stored off of the floor in a cool, dry place, the shelf expectancy is usually around a year and a half. That said, always check expiry dates on every new bag to make sure that wherever you bought it from is practicing good rotation of their stock and that you're not getting an old bag that's now out of date. In general, bags of kibble should not be stored in areas that get warmer than about 25 degrees Celsius, and it's best to store unopened bags up off of the floor just for any moisture issues and also to reduce the risks of things like mice or bugs getting into the kibble. Now, here is where a lot of people go wrong. Once they open the bag, most people are not storing it correctly. An open bag of kibble needs to be kept in its original packaging. This is for a few different reasons. One, if you have any problems, then you have the information on that bag, the UPC codes, batch numbers, expiry date, lot numbers, brands, manufacturers. All of that information is important to have in case there are any concerns with that bag of kibble. Second, keeping it in the original bag minimizes crumbs that get into other parts of your house, which also minimizes the risk of pests getting into your house. Lastly, research-based manufacturers that meet WSABA guidelines put a lot of time and research and energy and effort into the packaging for their products. And these bags are made to slow down the degradation of the nutrients that are inside of them. They are also food safe, and these bags have a liner that acts as a fat barrier, so do not pour kibble out of its original packaging into another container. Over time, the fats will be leached out into the plastic material that these containers are usually made out of, and that will cause kibble that's put into that container in the future to go rancid. This is a problem. This is why keeping the kibble in the original bag is so important. Every time that you open that bag, you should then remove as much air out of it as is possible and reseal it. Many of the companies have different resealing mechanisms on their bags. Sometimes it's more kind of like a Ziploc zipper, sometimes it's more of like a Velcro. If the bags you are using do not have that, you need to get some clips so that you can fold the top of the bag over and clip it in order to keep it as airtight as possible. Then that original bag ideally is kept inside of a second airtight container. This is important for a few reasons. This will decrease the likelihood of your pets getting into that bag, overeating, getting bloat, and suffering incredibly severe consequences because of it. The secondary container also helps with decreasing risks for bugs and other animals like rodents that might try to eat that food. Having the secondary airtight container also continues to reduce the amount of air that the kibble is exposed to. This is important because the air exposure will degrade the kibble over time. Open bags of kibble are fine to feed for at least 4 weeks. You may be able to get up to 6 weeks out of them. However, this will depend on if you are storing the kibble properly. If you ever notice that the kibble is starting to smell off, or your dog is starting to have some GI upset, or they aren't as eager to eat the kibble as they once were, think about how old that bag of kibble might be. I know so many people that keep their bags of kibble for way too long because they are trying to buy the larger bags thinking that this will be more cost efficient, but it's not, because the kibbles are experiencing degradation over time, and so your animal is not getting the nutrients that they require, and you risk making them sick by feeding them rancid kibble. You should be buying the bag size that allows you to go through that bag within 4 to a maximum of 6 weeks. If the bag is too big for that, you need to be sizing down a bag in order to keep your pet as healthy and safe as is possible. It's also very important that any kibble that is left out is removed and replaced daily, and that whatever container that kibble is in is then washed every single day. This is why these multi-day water and food containers are not appropriate and shouldn't be used. They will be leaching ingredients out of the food and making the food go rancid. It is so important that dishes are made out of stainless glass or ceramics, that they can be cleaned properly every single day. Research-based pet food companies that meet or exceed the WSAVA guidelines are generally excellent if you reach out to them if you are having concerns or questions or need a clarification on whatever specific formula you are feeding to your specific pet, because of course all I can give you from here are general guidelines and general information that applies to the vast majority of situations. The most common reason that people will have problems with bags or cans will be due to issues during transport, where the bags get too hot or they get too much moisture into them. Another problem that I will see somewhat regularly is that wherever people are buying their pet food from is not properly rotating the stock that's on the shelves, and they are not storing it properly when it's not in the storefront. You may end up having repeated problems from some stores versus others. When we have research-based pet food companies that meet WSAVA guidelines, it is way less likely that this is a company issue. However, a lot of them, if you contact them and you give them the information and the problem that you're having, a lot of them will give you a free replacement anyway while they look into whatever the problem might be. Feel free to comment down below with what you need to implement in your pet food storage. And I'd also love to hear from you if you have a video idea that you'd like me to cover. I'm always looking for topics that people are interested in and will happily add it to my list for a future video topic. I highlight a comment of the week every week. and I read every single comment. Thank you so much for all of them. I will also leave that Ko-fi link in the video description if you did appreciate this video and you have a couple dollars to help me with audio quality. I would really appreciate that. I have put up some of the sound isolation foam and it has made a difference already, which is fantastic, but I should be adding some of this foam to my ceiling as well. So if you have a couple of dollars, I would be very grateful. If you do not worry about it. You need to take care of yourself first. Commenting, liking, or sharing the video helps me out so much. I do put up a new video most Fridays, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Bye!